Hey guys, welcome to Shin Deep. We're here with Jordan Chavez from Zia Strength Systems. I am Jaime Romo, and I got across the table Mark Entenberg. So just welcome. Let's dive in. All right, Jordan. How long you been coaching?
I've been coaching now for 13 years. Actually, 13 years today. Had my business for 13 years. I've been training for about 22 years now.
To the day,
To
13
the day.
to the day. Wow.
Today is 13 years that we've
Holy
been
shit.
open. So cheers to
Cheers,
that.
man. Yeah,
Cheers to
that is something to cheers, man.
Little accomplishment.
We've been open at the other gym like 6 months, and I'm half dead.
Yeah, I think that's part of the beauty of owning a business.
Great for 13 years of doing it.
Like I said, there's hope.
Yeah,
There's hope.
yes.
Don't worry. Plenty of ups and downs through the years, but it's one of those things. Like every single time I've ever been in a time where I'm like, it's killing me. Do I even really want to do this long term? I remember why I actually started to do it. Know what I mean? The opportunities that it's given me, like the quality people I've been able to interact with through the years, meet, the places it's taken me across the globe. At the end of the day, every single time I have one of these good moments, good people, like that's what reminds me, hey, you're doing the right thing. Anytime you have someone come up to you, hey, thank you for everything you've done. Like even someone that I may not interact with them personally day to day, but they've been coming into the gym for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have some people that have been coming in since day one. And they're like, if it wasn't for your facility, like I have no idea where I would be in my life, just because it's kind of been an escape for them. Yeah. And so anytime I have different interactions like that, that's what's helped me progress to like, hey, you're doing the right things. You're doing the right things. Because I've definitely had plenty of days where I'm like, I feel like I'm scraping up money, trying to empty out piggy banks, look under every desk to see where I've hid my money. Like, so there's been plenty of dark days, but overall, the good days have overshadowed all the dark days. And so I just have always tried to maintain an even keel, because at the end of the day, my dark days shouldn't overshadow my good days, and my good days shouldn't overshadow everything, because if I can stay even, we'll progress and get to the next day. And at the end of the day, I'm just trying to get to tomorrow. Make a quality day, enjoy today. When tomorrow comes, let's approach it for whatever it comes our way.
That's awesome. I just had a question. So I know you were talking about like the people that you influence on a day-to-day basis, and the people that have been coming into the gym, for since day one. Mm-hmm. Who was that person that was there for you, that brought you in, that kind of showed you that path?
So I think I would have to say my father. He was a big influence on my life, and just because he was the guy that I was very fortunate growing up. I was able to play in sports year round. I was able to travel, go do all these things, and there was plenty of times when I would be traveling, but my mom would take us. My dad he would go maybe once or twice a year, but we would go in and out of town between sporting events and stuff like that year round. And there's plenty of times he wasn't there. But the only reason he wasn't there was because regardless of what was going on, he had to wake up the next day and he had to provide for his family. So I think watching that and watching the different avenues that he took in order to get to where he was at and to be successful, he always told me, he was like, I don't care what you do the night before, what you do the weekend before, Monday morning comes, your alarm clock goes off, whatever it is, I don't care how late you stayed out partying, I don't care how you feel. You have people that are relying on you, and you have to show up. And so half the battle is showing up. And I tell everyone, if we could just get to where we need to be at that time, everything else will work itself out. And so I'd say my father definitely was a huge part of that, in just being able to, hey, get there. Your ability and the gifts that we all have will take over. Just get there. Make sure to be present. Make sure to get there.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I'd say he was a huge part in my focus and my ability to push through dark days.
Yeah. When you were talking about the remembering kind of why you started this and all the purpose behind it, what was that? Like, were you, first, when you figured it out, did you have it in a specific vision, or is it kind of a broader idea?
It was definitely a broad idea. So, like I said, growing up, I played sports ever since I was 4 years old. Played in some organized sport ever since I was four. I was fortunate enough to play 4 years of college baseball, and in the process of it, coming up, I love football. So my plan was play collegiate football. And when my scholarship was pulled, I had the opportunity. I got scholarships to play baseball as well. Thankfully, the school that offered me, my brother went to school there. So I was like, all right, cool. I'll go play over there because my brother's there. And in doing so, because I was playing baseball, I didn't love baseball. I liked baseball. And so, but I loved training. So I've always enjoyed the off seasons and the preparation for the actual events, more so than the actual event itself. So I was probably about a senior in high school, freshman in college, where I was like, I want to do something in this field. So I enjoyed training so much. I started doing my undergrad stuff with human performance and kinesiology. And in doing so, I was like, this is what I want to do. Well, I already knew the percentage of people that go pro in any given sport is few and far between. So I was like, well, I would like to help athletes, was kind of my thing. And I needed something competitive. I knew after baseball, I'm way too competitive as an individual to just be like, oh, I'm going to just work out. Like, I need to work towards something. So I started training, doing powerlifting while I was in college. So I started competing in powerlifting my freshman year of college. First powerlifting competition, I was probably 18, 19 years old. Went out to Vegas, did a competition, and cool, started training. I was like, all right. So I basically trained for powerlifting while I played baseball. And then in town, there wasn't a powerlifting gym. There was no, like, all you had were commercial gyms. And needless to say, the training group that I had, we got kicked out of every single gym that we were a part of. So they're like, oh yeah, these guys take this a little too seriously, whatever. Like, we weren't necessarily a normal group that would walk into the gym and just worried about looking good, this, that, and the other. Like, everyone would look at us like we were the odd objects in the room. So my junior year of college, we decided, hey, let's open a gym. The whole reason I think we wanted to open a gym was just to have a place to train and not be looked at like the outcasts in the room. And so it started out just as a place to train. I looked at it as like, hey, I could train here and then I could get into like what I want to do. Thankfully, I'm my own boss, but at the same time, you guys know, like, being your own boss has its perks and it also has its headaches.
For sure.
So plenty of headaches early on, and still to this day. But leading into that, going back to just, hey, why do you want to do this? Like, you enjoy helping people. And it just developed more and more so that I can, hey, let me help you realize something in you that you didn't even know you had. Mm-hmm. Same thing with you, like, same thing. How can I help you realize strengths that you didn't even know you could ever accomplish? And so I've tried to take that approach with everyone that walks through my door, whether you're 60-plus-year-old lady, 12-year-old boy or girl, like, it didn't matter to me. Let me help you find something physically that you never even in your wildest dreams could imagine. And so help these people realize what they're actually capable of physically, mentally, And that just helped me continue to progress and grow as an individual, as a coach, as an athlete, so that all these people can basically have a little bit of how I view my life and to be able to give them a different perspective on their own.
No, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it's been a blessing for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you think that by doing that, like, you as a person have grown and evolved with it?
Yes, tremendously. Just due to the fact that I do things a certain way, and I had to learn early on. Everyone doesn't do it the way I do it. Like, people look at me like, oh yeah, that guy's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he doesn't take days off. He doesn't do his deload week like most people. Like, I just train year round, and getting people past that mental block that I feel like most people have. It's like, all right, I have my checkpoints if I'm doing a camp, if I'm getting ready for a season, if I have games that week, whatever it is. Understanding that just because you reach your goal, you reach that single goal, that there's always a goal we need to set for tomorrow. And there's really never a finish line. And I try to instill that we're working towards a checkpoint, not a finish line. Because our ultimate goal is to be as active and as healthy as possible for as long as possible, quality of life. And so I want everyone to have a better quality of life, so that now they're getting into their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80 years old, and they're still active, rather than, hey, you see some of these people, they hit the pinnacle at anywhere from 20 to 30 years old, and all of a sudden their lifestyle starts declining. They start, oh, well, I'm old now, I can't do that. Well, I'm the person that says you can. Right. Because I don't care if you start when you're 12 years old like I did, or if you start when you're 60 years old. You can progress. And like, for instance, I had a young lady that came to me, never lifted a day in her life, retired nurse, and she walked in, she was 64 years old when I first met her, never lifted anything. And I was in there yelling at her and scolding her the same way I would you in the middle of a fight, like fight camp. Like, we're trying to get ready. Like, I don't care what the doctor told you. I don't care. They told you you're never going to gain any muscle the rest of your life. Well, I'm the person that says, I think you can. Mm-hmm. Because the people that are telling them that they can't, well, if you believe them, then they're right. But if you tell yourself you can, you're right too, because you can do something. And who cares what the odds are? If you put your mind to it, you could genuinely progress in one way, shape, or form. And so getting them to be able to just push themselves and get to that next level of thinking allows their body to basically rejuvenate themselves, start rebuilding, and again, have a better quality of life, to where I have an individual walking in, say they're older, they're struggling, like they're walking like they're old. Well, the way you look at them, like, yeah, they look old. But all of a sudden, 6 months later, they're walking in, got a little pep to their step. They're like, oh, you look like a brand new person. And just getting them to feel that rejuvenation in life, different perspective in life, better quality of life.
That's awesome. I've seen some of those people in the gym, and it's cool to see their transformation. Like, I've been around a lot of your clients. I've been training with you for a few years, but it's awesome to see that transformation, and not only physically, but the mental change. And I think that's the biggest thing that happened for me when I started training with you. So I started training with him when I came back from the Air Force, 2015, and I was pretty motivated, like, as far as physical fitness and stuff. But we started powerlifting, and like you said, like the odd group. You know, we walked into that gym, and there's guys slamming weights and chains and bands, and it's a little intimidating at first. But you know, I'm like, oh, I can hang with these guys. When I'm thinking, yeah, I couldn't hang in the first couple of weeks. I couldn't hang at all. But you know, you start to develop that mindset, and I think for me, that was the biggest change. When I came back, I had just got out of the Air Force, and it was a really, like, dark season, like 6 months to a year. I was pretty depressed, dealing with a lot of stuff just because of the loss of identity, you could call it. So when I got in there, yeah, it was for physical fitness, but it was not the mindset that I needed to kind of release some anger, if you will,
Yeah.
that powerlifting. So I think it's cool that you instill this mindset into people because it transfers to life overall.
Yes.
Like that helped me kind of push through a lot of obstacles, and even now and to this day, like powerlifting helped me really hone in that controlled aggression.
Yes.
So that controlled aggression can be, distributed in any way possible. Like, I don't know, I'm editing something,
Yeah.
I don't feel like doing it today, that this sucks. And then you really just like sit with yourself and realize, man, I can do this. I can power through this. I can muscle through this. It's not always the prettiest, but you get it done, and that's kind of awesome that you instill that in people. So not only the physical stuff, but you really change people's lives. Even it seems kind of cliche, but it's very true. Like you just develop these characteristics that help you in every single area of life. Really
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I think part of what everyone appreciates when they walk through the door is everyone's treated the same. The way I speak to you, the way I will pick you up, the way I'll put you down, like
That's a fact.
everyone could get it. And like I said, it doesn't matter what stage of life they're in. I will treat you very direct and very upfront just because I'm not here to I've never been the sugarcoating individual. And so people have always looked at me as a little bit of a rude individual, but I've also told them I am the nicest person you'll ever meet. You won't always like what I have to say, but I promise you I'll never lie to you.
I feel like that's why I
yeah,
respected
and
you
that
the most.
yeah, and that's why, and I think what everyone's appreciated, they're like, whether they liked what's come out of my mouth or not, at least it's very direct and it's the truth of it from my perspective. And I'm not going to be the person to try to gas you up on one end and then as soon as you leave the room, oh yeah, no, that person doesn't have it. I'm
Right.
like, no, if you don't have it today, I'm telling you, hey, you didn't have it today.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what you did yesterday. I don't know what you did this morning. I want to know what you did this afternoon.
Right.
But the mindset you brought in wasn't the right mindset. But when everyone comes in, good, bad mindset, whatever, indifferent. By the end of their training session, they leave. They're a lot clearer minded and they're uplifted to a different level. It was like, hey, okay, I wasn't as down as I might have thought I was. I'm significantly higher now. And that's a change that 30 to 60 minutes, hour and a half, whatever it may be, can do for the mindset of actually challenging yourself, facing those challenges in the gym, and being able to move forward and move past them. And just basically shining, I'm the person that's going to shine the light on the dark corner and be like, look, stop avoiding that corner. Let's get back to work.
Yeah, you definitely
Acknowledge
said
it.
things
Yeah,
in
acknowledge these issues, take them for what they are, and yes, do I have a part in this? Does someone else have a part in this? Does the people around me have a part of this? Yes, but let's try to control everything that's within our control. Whatever isn't, all right, we have to just let it play out and just try not to harp on that one bad subject of the day, and let's just continue to move forward. Like my grandfather always said, keep marching, soldier.
Yeah.
He's a military guy, retired colonel, so like very, very old school. So I wasn't fortunate enough to have him in my life too long. He died at a young age, but his teachings definitely carried through just because he was like very hard nosed and he was like, trust me, there's a lot of dark days. He was like, keep moving forward because don't get stuck in one day. We still got tomorrow.
Well, it also just goes to show, like, just that fact that he wasn't around that much and how much it instilled in you, based on what you were talking about earlier, the fact that just being around you and training with you for however long, things will be instilled in people quickly because of how your mindset is. But no, I mean, even in our training, there's been times where, like, I've double taked after you said something. I've been like, fuck, like, that is so, it's so, like, because you won't, and it's never offensive, it's just true. There's one conversation in particular I remember. It was probably maybe a couple months back, and I was talking about, like, when I was, like, what I felt the peak of my Muay Thai career was, in the shape I was in, and we were talking about like diet regimens and just supplements and stuff like that. And you just blatantly told me like, well, just remember that, and you said it in a kind of training sense, but you're like, you're not training the way. Essentially, you told me you don't look like that because you don't train like that anymore. But you said it very just straight up, like, and then off you went.
Yeah,
But I mean,
keep moving.
But it was true, and I was like, and I had to like realize like he's 150% right, because it's not like I'm doing everything. There's something wrong with my body, or there's this or that. It was just you don't look like that because you don't train like that anymore. But you didn't say it angrily. You didn't say it any other way than just simple like that. And I had to think about that later on, and I was just like, man, that was something that I respected so much, because a lot of people will just try and find you a workaround.
Yeah.
Or
try to make you feel better, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, no, like it's okay,
No,
a hand on
yeah.
the shoulder kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, no, acknowledge it for what it is,
Yeah.
but hey, we just have to change our mindset. Hey, let's just get back to work. Like
Yeah.
I tell everyone, I don't care what you like in a training sense, like I don't care what you've hit before. What can you hit today? Because in training in life, we're gonna have peaks and valleys all the time.
Yes.
And like today, am I as strong as I've ever been? Probably not. Am I in as good a shape as I've ever been? Probably not. But can I push myself to be better today? Absolutely. Can I push myself to be better tomorrow when I wake up? Absolutely. And it's that constant dedication and understanding of like, hey, can I be better? Be better. Let's be better than give ourselves an easy way out, because it's easy to, hey, let off the reins. Let's kind of just, we'll cruise through today. No, like I need you to push to what you can do today. That's going to make you better for tomorrow.
Yes.
And giving us the best foot forward going into the rest of our day, going into tomorrow, going into our training, going into our next practice. Because if I can push through not feeling great today in this session, and I over-accomplish that, that's a small checkpoint, and that's a small win. The more small wins I could build up, the more wins I could have every single day. And the more wins I have every day, the better I could win week in, week out, month in, month out, year in, year out.
Yes. No, I think one question I had, I mean, just from being part of, I guess, being a gym owner for a short period of time, and one thing that I feel like you do very well is finding that ability to take whatever energy's there, but not let it, or I'm sure at the same time, not let it affect what's behind it, and vice versa, and not bringing what's back here in here.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like hitting that.
Yeah, it's like
controlling that buffer, and you almost spin it in a positive way.
Yeah, like a short. I tell everyone, short-term memory.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? Look at good, bad, and the ugly as learning experiences. So on a business side, if I did something and I shot myself in the foot, don't worry about the wound I have in my foot that I just did.
Right.
All right, well, tape it up and don't do that again.
Right.
Hey, try to keep it. I always say, try to keep it as cut and dry as possible.
Yeah.
Don't try to reinvent the wheel. Just think about how you could improve your wheel. I don't need to rebuild it. I just need to add to it.
For sure.
Just like your toolbox. I don't need to have a perfect toolbox, because if you have a perfect toolbox, what happens? Well, what are you building off of? You can't never add to it if it's perfect. So it's creating everything your own. And on a business side, like I have plenty of other businesses that are extremely successful, but what's made, I think, set me apart from everyone is I've tried to keep my core values. I've never tried to imitate anyone else. I've never tried to duplicate what someone else is doing just because, hey, maybe they're being a little bit more successful right now. Well, I'm not going to conform to what they're doing, because what happens? All of a sudden, when their newness wears off, they have no foundation to fall behind. And then what are they stuck with? Yeah. Well, we're stuck with this big-footed bill of this beautiful facility with no foundation behind it. And now what are they doing? They're scrambling, trying to figure out how they could pay their rent.
Yeah, we've seen that a lot of times in Albuquerque. It's like
so like
facilities and stuff.
Yeah. So like being open for the last 13 years, I've lost count how many gyms I've seen open and close in that time frame. I've seen plenty of people that have seen how I run my business. They're like, oh, I could do that. And I could count plenty of gyms that the owners of these gyms have all stemmed from training in my facility. And I've told everyone, they're like, oh, I think I could do this. That's easy. Go for it. Like, I'm not going to tell you not to do you. Like, this is your life. Like, live it however you see fit. And just try to continue to move forward. And at the end of the day, I'm not worried about the lawn to my left or the lawn on my right. I'm just worried about what's between my fences. And that's it. And understanding, like, I'm just trying to stay in my lane.
Yeah.
And I think too many people try switching lanes because they're like, oh, here, here, here. I'm like, no, this is where my flagpole is. This is where I stand.
It's really interesting that you say that. I think there's parallels with that in the martial arts world, and like especially like opening up a Muay Thai gym. There was very few, and a lot of people I think tried, but when the numbers aren't going up, they're like, okay, we should add MMA and BJJ, and because that's what everyone else is doing. That's the thing, is because, like you said, there's not that foundation behind it, underneath it. So, and I'm sure it's the same thing with other martial arts, but point is that they'll have one concise thing, whether it's powerlifting or something like that, and then they try and think, okay, we're not getting where we need to be, and instead of looking at, okay, let's look at our framework, our foundation, our plan of attack, let's add more, like let's add more to the closet, more selection.
Yeah.
I mean, and it goes with, like we were talking about shopping earlier. Like, there was one brand we were talking, because we were looking at different brands, and there's some brands that I really like, but I think the best brands have the smallest catalogs.
Yeah.
Because there's some brands that I love them, but their catalogs are so extensive that I'll go through the cart and
You forget.
But I'm just like, I still have 6 more pages, and I'm like $300 deep.
And you're overwhelmed.
And I just unclick the whole thing.
And then you cancel the order.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same thing with, like, because there's been a lot of times where, I mean, even in the short time that I've been open, like, because, like you've been a long-standing gym, and being a short-standing gym, it's hard sometimes where you're like, you have to have that faith of just like, okay, double-check the vision, double-check, like, what isn't where it needs to be, like you said, in between your fence posts. But that doesn't mean I need to buy a whole other yard.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I need to just start adding things in, because it's not that what I have is wrong. It just, is it being done and executed, and is it clear of what I'm trying to accomplish, and understanding that there's a slow growth process. And I think that's something that's been really cool for me to see, is the way that choose might not be the right word, but the way your clientele is selected, in the sense of, you talk to me like that, in a way, everyone has a chance. Like, there's no, like, when you walk in your gym, it's a good vibe, period. But very quickly, you'll know if they're meant to be there or not. And I try and kind of have that same thing with, everyone is always welcome in, but, and it's you just know off the jump of, they'll know, one, if they're finding what they're looking for, and two, like, I know, in the sense of, do they fit the vision and culture of what I'm trying to do, and those core beliefs and those values, and it's not being like a dick, and it's not this or that, but it's just, in order to execute what you're trying to achieve in that vibe, in that group, it's like you have to have a mindset that, one, protects your integral property, like you were talking about, like your gym, your vibe, and then the people who are there. So I've always kind of really enjoyed that aspect of your gym, of that the people who are meant to be there, like, are there, one, and two, you can tell they love being there.
Yes. And
that's huge, because, I mean, like you said earlier, the hardest thing sometimes is just getting there.
Yeah.
But so on one hand, it's great to, let's just say we go to Choose or wherever, and there's a bunch of people there working out. It's like, that's cool, like, people are there working out, like, they're there, possibly part of the routine. Not to say that they're not all enjoying it.
Yeah.
But then you see a gym like yours, and it's like, those people are on a mission.
Yeah.
And not only are they on a mission, but they're all smiling, they're enjoying themselves, like, and there's some bad looking motherfuckers in there. There's like some tough dudes, but they're all super welcoming and super nice, and kind of goes to show, like, how good of a job you've done protecting that house, because they protect it for you.
Yes.
And I think that's such a cool dynamic to have.
Yes, and I've I've told people, I've been saying this ever since before I even opened the gym. And I remember I got into a conversation, slightly heated, with one of my professors. And they're trying to tell me about, oh, well, like the physiological aspect of this, that, and the other. And I was like, you can have a perfect scenario, have someone that perfect dress, perfect setting, perfect temperature in the room, perfect, all the perfect atmosphere to have a quality training session. But I could put one person in that setting. I could put one person in a terrible setting, no heat, no garage doors open, dead of winter. But if you have quality people around, I'm going to get a better training session in that atmosphere that isn't ideal because of the people around me and the mindset that's going to allow me to be in than if I'm in this lab that is set up to improve performance in all these different aspects, has every bell and whistle that you could think of. And the person that is around with a better psychological aspect with the people they're training with is going to excel significantly more than this person that has every tool at their disposal but doesn't have the right people around them.
Yeah,
and so the atmosphere that you create to train and for all your individuals is going to carry you significantly more than every bell and whistle under the sun. And I've tried to make it a point that the atmosphere that I get when you walk in there, it's a little overwhelming. Like you said, first time he walked in, there's a lot of loud noises, a lot of strong individuals, men, women, everything under. And it's like, hold on, you have to take a step back and kind of let it sink in a little bit. It's like, all right, well, do I even fit in this area? And people will find out, like I said, I've had people, hey, come on in. I was like, just get to training. You'd be surprised how much harder they push just because everyone around them is pushing. Yeah. And they're like, I don't want to be the person stuck out that, hey, I do one set and I'm just sitting on my phone for 30 minutes. And all of a sudden you have all these people that are sweating, working hard, and they come up, hey, are you done? Or like, what are you doing? And they're not asking to be rude. They're asking because, hey, I need that machine, or I need that bar, I need that weight, whatever it may be. And quick short story, I had this group of young ladies. This was probably about 7-8 years ago, and they came in and they were like, oh yeah, no, we heard your gym's so great, this, that, and the other, we want to try it out, go for it. Well, at the time they came in, it was a slower hour. There was maybe 10 people in there at the time, and they came in and everyone's just training. No one's worried about what they look like. No one's eyeballing them. No one's chatting them up. They stayed for about 15, 20 minutes, and not a soul basically hit on them, so to speak. I kid you not. They left, and within 15 minutes, I see the same group of individuals putting up stories on social media at a commercial gym, like, oh, in heaven, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, that's fine. I was like, because if that's your lane, but it just goes to show you, all right, are you here to actually train, or are you here for the attention? You walk into my facility, everyone comes in there to train. No one's in there to be like, it's not a club where you walk into a lot of commercial gyms, it's a club. Like, it's a social hour that we're here for, what kind of attention am I getting today? And that's fine, but I've tried to maintain the fact that if you walk in my facility, I don't care who you are, you're going to be getting better today. And it's not going to just be for your attention that you're seeking. And so everyone that gets attention in my facility are very good at what they do. I don't care what it is. Yeah. I don't care if you're a mixed martial artist, if you're a bodybuilder, powerlifter, CrossFitter, just general fitness individual. Everyone gets attention that work hard. If you're just there to seek attention, to try to look good and get hit on, we're definitely not the spot for you. So I think that's it's kept it almost. I laugh because my gym, I always speak of it as like a speakeasy. Like, oh yeah, everyone's heard of us. Everyone knows me, but how many people know me? Like you two know me very well. Yeah. But I'm sure you probably each have had instances where you've met someone. Oh yeah, no, I know Jordan. We're good friends. This, that, and the other. Well, a lot of these people that'll tell him that, they don't know I've known him since I was 12, 13 years old. And he's like, oh, you know him, huh? I've never seen you before.
I feel like that's happened to us a lot with people you know.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, I was like, you don't know me. And so you might have heard of me. We might have walked by each other before, but you don't know me.
That's such a really, I love that point too, because I think it's so interesting, especially if you're a prominent figure in any community where people are discussing you. Like, so many times I've thought about that, where it's like when somebody will come and say that they've heard something about me, and I'm sure it's the same about you, it's like, okay, do they know this or do they think this?
Yeah.
Have they ever had a conversation with me?
Yeah.
Because like, I'll tell you if it's true, but it's like, it's the same thing. It's like a lot of people say like oh, this person is this way. It's like, where did you get this information from? Did somebody tell you this? Is this just,
hearsay? What is it?
It's like, but it's like, and about a person, it's like, what do you actually know for fact? Yeah. In the sense of what have you actually experienced? And even with those experiences, there's two sides to everything. Mm-hmm. But it's like people can be very quick to just be like, somebody's this way. Yeah. And they might not even have that whole thing of the interaction in the first place. Yeah.
They don't even have the information. Yeah. It was hearsay from hearsay, and it's 3 people deep by the time it gets back.
To you. And that's the worst. I mean, it's good because it doesn't waste time. But at the other hand, I would love to, like, at any time, like sometimes the things that I hear, it's just like, I would love to just sit with that person and be like, who told you that? And be like,
let's have a conversation.
Like, I'm not angry with you. We've never met, but how do you know these things about me? Like, we've never discussed them,
Yeah, and that's what I've always said. I've told everyone, I was like, if you ever heard someone say, oh, that I've said anything bad about you, I promise you, if I have something bad to say to you, I'll tell you to your face. Like, like I said, I've had a reputation of being a little bit of a dick, but at the same time, I was all good, bad, or ugly. I have no problem telling anyone to their face. And that's your everyday individual. That's the highest of the high, the lowest of the low. Like, I have no problem expressing my opinion to someone. And I was like, so whenever someone has like some hearsay, I'm like, well, this is what I said. If it had, even if there was any aspect of it that was slightly true, I'll be like, actually, that's what they told you. This is what I said. Mm-hmm. And like I said, I'll tell you to your face. And if it was something, this is what I said, how they interpreted it, that's on them. I was like, but if you ever have a conversation, everyone knows where to find me. Yeah. Right. But there's not very many people that are willing to walk through the door.
Yeah, for sure. And because a lot of times they know it is hearsay. Yeah. And they're doing it for, like, they're not actually trying to look out for the person they're talking to. Yeah. No. They just have an issue that you might be successful or doing something that in some fashion. Yeah. Or that, like, it could be someone that came to your gym and they weren't working out hard and you let them know what was good and then somehow you're a dick for it. Yeah. And like, that's not the case. Yeah. I mean,
I'm like, no, I called you lazy.
Yeah.
I said, hey, I said you were lazy and you were worried about likes rather than actual training. I was like, yeah, no, I told you that. I was like, don't try to turn it that I kicked you out or I did this, I did that. No. I told you you're lazy. You didn't want to come back because I called you lazy when there was 30 other people working harder than you during that hour. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you were the lazy one in the room. Oh, it was nothing about you personally, just the effort you gave in that time was lazy. You left, and now your ego is hurt. Mm-hmm. That your ego being hurt isn't my problem.
No, not at all. Yeah, but I mean, those are fun conversations when they do happen. Because it's like almost like people expect that that you're gonna change how you were or your mind, and it's like,
well, I'm gonna sugarcoat it.
Or especially like when they're like, well, you did say this to me, and you're like, yeah, I did. Yeah. And like,
like, hey, I didn't lie to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I mean it's a, like they're like, come on now, like, did you really mean that? Yep. Yeah. 100%. Like, what did you mean when you said that? Exactly what I said.
How you perceived it, how I intended it.
Yeah, I was like,
you received it correctly.
I made sure to let you know where I stood and how I felt about it. Like, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I'm going to tell you straightforward the way it is, and then how you take it, how you perceive it. If it offends you, most of the time, people that get offended, it's because there's a lot of truth to it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think no one likes looking themselves in the mirror whenever they have to acknowledge, like, hey, you're right, I was at fault today.
Yeah.
It's always someone else's fault. It's always, oh, well, this situation put me in this perspective and this, that, and the other. And they're always trying to just push blame. It's like, oh, well, if so-and-so was here and would have done this, I would have done this better. Well, just do it better.
Yeah.
Like, quit trying to put your success and your quality of life in the hands of somebody else. Like, take your life for yourself, get in the driver's seat, and drive where you want to go.
For sure.
Quit trying to sit in the back seat, give directions. Someone drives you there, and you're like, well, this is the wrong destination. I wanted to go to the restaurant across the street, not that one.
Right.
Well, why did you put the directions in for this one? And it's like, well, say what you mean. Don't assume everyone knows what you want.
Yeah,
It's
that's
like,
so true.
If you want
That's
something,
spot.
say that. Don't be like, oh, well, I would really like to go check out your gym one of these
You're
days,
speaking
but
my language now.
I'm like,
It drives me
oh, I really
nuts.
want to go check it out. Well, come
You-
on over.
Yeah.
Hey, here's my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Pull up. Oh, well, what time are you at your gym?
Mhm.
Well, I'm there for about 12 hours a day.
Mm-hmm.
Anywhere 10 to 12 hours a day. Oh, well, yeah, no. The way my work schedule's set up,
You can always
Yeah.
tell when someone's
Yeah.
just kind of bluffing.
I'm like,
Yeah.
Can I check it out sometime? Like,
Yeah.
you would be here. If
Yeah.
you want to check it out.
if you want to check it out, like, come find me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
for sure.
and again, if you really know me, where do you find me? 6 to 7 days a week.
Yeah.
I'm in the same four walls every single day. My schedule rarely changes. I could count on one hand how often I leave town.
Mhm.
And like, so anyone wants to find me, pull up to my gym and you can find me very easily.
Yeah. I was going to circle back to something. I had a question kind of related with that.
Yeah.
How big do you think it is that your clients see you training?
That's a good one.
I think it's huge.
Because you're the example.
Yeah, I feel like me training and pushing myself to an extreme every single day has helped instill the quality of atmosphere that I want to have, because they'll see me killing myself and dying physically, like where to the point of like most people are like, yeah, I couldn't do that, I'd break. I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to break myself every single day.
Mm-hmm.
But again, if they see me doing that, well, you're right, maybe I could push a little bit harder today.
Yeah.
And it helps them to kind of develop that mindset. And back to my original thing, like creating a mindset, helping people envision something else, envision more for themselves. And I'm not saying I'm going to be able to train this hard in the next 30 years, but I promise you I will be training in the next 30 years.
100%.
And so I think as an individual, especially like with what I do, it's very hard for me to tell you, hey, make sure you do your bike sprints tonight. Make sure you do your down sets on your lifting. If they happen to come in during my training time and they don't see me do a bike sprint, they don't see me do down sets, they don't see me do accessory work, they don't see me do core work, the amount of aspects I hit in my training will never be second guessed, purely because if you ever want to see what I do, come on in the gym between 3 and 5 o'clock every single day.
Sure.
You're going to see me sweating. You're going to see me probably cursing at someone or myself.
Especially if they're yawning.
Yeah. And so that's what I mean. It's like I'm going to be doing something that's going to have me in a very dark place mentally, but that's the challenge that I give myself every single day, is because if I'm training hard and as an individual, how is it for me to tell you, hey, I think you need to eat this way, you need to eat this way so that we could have this proper performance? And then you see me rolling in with a bag of Chick-fil-A, a large soda, sitting there, throwing down fries. I got grease all over my shirt. I'm like, really? No.
Wait, you're wearing
yeah.
a shirt?
Don't worry. You know me. Hey, you walk into my gym, I have a shirt for about 2.5 hours. And then the other 8 hours, I'm shirtless. I don't care what time of year it is. But that's another thing. I'm like, hey, I've worked tirelessly day in and day out to look and perform the way I do, so that I wasn't the gifted kid that had a six pack since they were 4 years old. I wasn't the big kid growing up. I was the skinny little brother, little cousin that got beat up all the time. And so, but it also helped me to develop thick skin and a tough mental state in order to push day in and day out. And so I look in the mirror, I think I look skinny, I'm small, all these things. But you go in general public, and you guys know it, like you go out there and you're like, yeah, I'm the fittest individual in the room. Anytime you walk into, you go to the mall, you go to a store, you look at how out of shape the vast majority is.
Yeah,
And so,
percentages now are crazy.
yeah, it's
I
ridiculous.
think like, isn't it like 5% are considered like in shape now?
Yeah.
Out of
That's crazy.
I would say, and I
apparently
wouldn't.
it's going to go down to 1.
Yeah, I'm
in the
pretty
next,
sure.
Like 5 years. Or
I think
something.
I've seen something. Yeah, in the next 5 years, it's gonna drop to like 1%. Where
Yeah.
like the best being in shape is gonna be rarer than having $1 million, or like
Mhm.
I forget. I read a study like a week or two ago,
Yeah.
basically saying your biggest commodity is gonna be how shape you're in, and the quality of shape that you're in. And so, anyone that goes in there, like I'll have people. I'll be finishing a training session for myself, and I'll be killing myself and say I'm running 10 minutes late, and I have a client show up. I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I have 5 more minutes. And never once have they been like, oh, you need to stop what you're doing. They're like, no, finish what you're doing. Like, I see you're actively working. It's not like
For sure.
I'm sitting there chatting up some people in the gym. They're like, no, you're working. So
I mean, I think the thing that I wonder, and I probably didn't explain it, but with that buffer between like your home life and gym life, how do you deal with that in the sense of when you're having the darkest times at home? Like, how does that affect you in the gym and vice versa? In the sense of, where do you find that ground of it stays here
and doesn't
Yes,
flood
yes.
over. I think, thankfully, like I was very straightforward with my wife when we first met. When we met, I told her, I'm like, look, you knew I was a gym owner, but at the same time, understanding like everything that goes into it, the amount of hours that I'm pouring into this, and where this is my livelihood. And so I'm try to make it a point early on, like, hey, if I don't talk to you all day, I'm not ignoring you. I'm working. You're on your job. If you're at your job, I'm not blowing you up every 2 seconds, worried about what you're doing. You got a job, go do your job. And so just trying to make it a point that everyone considers, if you own your own gym, oh, well, that's not a real job. Well, does it make money? Yeah. Do I pay my bills? Yeah. Okay, well, what else do you consider a real job? Why do you go to a 9 to 5? To show up, do whatever they ask of you, whatever is listed on your agenda that day, finish your week out, collect a check. I do the same thing. It's not my fault that you decided to do something where you had to wear a suit and tie or a pencil skirt to work, and I decided to wear shorts and no shirt. And so, yeah, I'm smiling, laughing, shirtless, putting in 10 to 12-hour days, year in and year out. And like, look, I'm going to, just like anyone else, I have good days, I have bad days, but trying to make it a point that as soon as I walk out the door, that problem's going to be there whether I harp on it or not. So try to leave as much of it at the door. And if I feel like I'm carrying it with me at the house, trying to voice that, like, hey, it was kind of a bad day. And if I need some silence or I don't feel like talking for the next couple hours, like, don't be mad. I'm not mad at you. I'm processing. This is part of who I am. I have to deal with everything that we're currently going through at the gym. And so I think it takes a very mature woman to be with someone that works for themselves, because most of them, and I don't want to categorize all women, but or just significant others in general, that just because I'm not speaking with you right now doesn't mean I'm mad at you. I'm dealing with something, I'm processing something, I'm trying to figure something out. If you want to discuss it, let me discuss it when I've calmed down, because I try to not make it a point to let frustrations from business carry over into my personal life with, hey, well, the food you made tonight is sucked. And I'm just projecting my own frustrations at what I'm going through, and where the meal was probably fine, but I'm not trying to take it out. I don't want my home life or my significant other to be a beaten post. And but vice versa, they have to understand, like, hey, if I'm not talking to you, why aren't you talking to me? Why aren't you giving me attention? I'm like, just right now isn't the right time. Like, if I came home, obviously I want to be home. It's because this, you're here, my family's here, this is my place of peace. I'm not trying to carry over the chaos from the workplace into my peace when I walk through my front door. And I think it takes a very mature woman to understand that. And having them look at you and be like, respect you enough to be like, okay, that's fine. Take your time. Like, you want to go sit and tune out the world for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, whatever it may be, just go put a show on and just kind of get out of your own head. That's what has allowed me to continue and do what I do and be successful, is just because I haven't had to basically have another headache develop just because I had a bad day at work.
Right.
And having a mature individual there to be like, hey, when I'm ready to talk about it, we could talk about it. But I'm not going to talk about it if you're not ready to react in a conversation manner. And when we could have a conversation about it and then just proceed as adults, that's what's allowed me to continue and have a safe space at home and still have a quality business. Because I think too many times we get caught up in, when we're running our own business, we put everything on the table, and instead of having individual lanes for all aspects of our life, we just put it, here's one big freeway, no lines, and everyone's just doing this. It's like, hey, I'm here in the fast lane. And it's like, hey, when I go home, I'm trying to just get in that inside lane and cruise, happy going life. And too many times, I feel like when we try speeding on that outside lane, and then everyone's like, hey, why is this guy driving like an asshole? And it's like, I'm not, that's when that carryover.
Yeah, that's a great analogy.
Know what I mean? Like, hey,
Yeah.
understanding, like, being a business owner, we're on a freeway. Each aspect of our life is a certain lane, and let's try to, like I always tell when I'm working with different athletes or families, like, we all have to stay in our lane, so to speak, so that we can continue to get to our destination.
Absolutely.
But it does us no good if we let our workplace dictate and we start acting and reacting emotional in situations that we're typically not emotional with. And trying to take it for what it is, acknowledge it, cool, go home, enjoy your time, and then we could fix the problem tomorrow. Or we could fix a problem once I've calmed down and can think rationally on our situation.
Sure.
Know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think, like, circling back to what you said about the struggle with some certain significant others and just people in general who have the 9 to 5 versus someone who has their own business is, and I talked to some of my guys about this too, is that a lot of times one envies the other, but it's like,
Mhm.
if you had the freedom, people don't understand how hard it is to have the freedom and to make the structure for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and like,
Yeah.
like they think like, oh, I hate this 9 to 5. It's like, to be honest, like, for a long time, I thrived on being, I became a good athlete because I'm coachable. I'm good at being told what to do,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of, like, it's easier for me to be like, I need to be blank, 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 blank. This is who I need to be. This is what I have to do. When I switched to, I guess, a free schedule, that freedom, that's where it was a whole different game that I had to learn, in the
Mhm.
sense of holding yourself accountable with,
And
like,
creating your own
yes,
schedule.
like, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, what are you? I mean, it's kind of like at the end of Shawshank Redemption, when the guy doesn't want to leave prison. because it's like, what is he going to do with his freedom? Like, it's like, of course he doesn't want to be in prison, but it's like, just for what I learned from when I was in treatment and when I came out, I had no fucking clue what to do with freedom and not being told what to do every single second of every day. It took a long time. So it's just interesting. Like, I agree with that, and that there's that envy between the 9 to 5 and the people who are entrepreneurs who run their own business. But at the end of the day, it's like, they don't really understand of like, do you really want this freedom? Do you really want this responsibility? I mean, and I think just going back to the beginning, I think you having that purpose and that drive and mission is what gives you that ability to know what to do with the freedom and how to structure your day. Because it's the same thing with like certain people who work with me or work for me or this or that, or even friends. They're like, I need to make more money. And I'll just ask them, why? Like, what for?
Yeah, what are you going to do with it?
Like, what do you need it for? Like, is it I mean, don't get me wrong, there's no right or wrong answer. But have you even thought about like, why is your brain telling you that that's what you need? Are you not addressing or addressing something else? You know, and it goes the same thing with like the 9 to 5 versus like, if you're given that opportunity to, you know, build your own schedule out. So it's because, like I said, I mean, I'm blessed in the sense of I get to now have that freedom, but I'm not gonna lie, it's way harder than like when I was just being coached all the time. And like, I almost try and at least have that mindset of like, when I'm in the gym, you're the coach, you're in charge, you know, and that's with any coach. But it's like, that's almost like a gift to still have people who will coach you, when, you know, and like, but you have to seek those people out, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, you have to find individuals that understand where you're at, understand what your goal is, and finding coaching is just like significant other. Like, you have to find individuals that understand what your end goals are and understand what your checkpoints are and are willing to put aside what their wants are and understand what the needs are for everyone to hit all these checkpoints, and making sure that, all right, if you come to me to help you get prepare for a fight, understand that, like, all right, whoever's helping me, like, I want them to care about this as much as I do. And
100%.
making sure these people are in as like, all right, everyone's going to do something because it's helping them in one aspect or another. But as long as them helping themselves isn't taking away from my end goal, it's fine. Whenever they're willing to pull on you and say, oh no, like, this isn't the route I wanted to go. Well, we're still going to the same end goal, but this is what's going to be better for me as an athlete, as a person, as a business owner. This is the route we need to go. It's like, yeah, I would love to have me a 20,000 square foot, 30,000 square foot facility, everything under the roof, so that I have all these different options to facilitate for all my people. But is that realistic? No. Is it going to put me in a hole to the point of, hey, I need to shut down now because I can't afford to for all of this, and now where are we at? Well, now I can't even do what I enjoy. Just like your friend is like, oh, I want to make more money. Well, what are you going to do with it? Oh, well, I just need to make more money. Well, if you don't know why you need more money, you don't need more money. So unless that increase in revenue is helping you progress to the next step of whatever your vision is, there's no reason for it. So if you can live a comfortable life, pretty stress-free, you're doing exactly what you need to do at the pace you need to be. The moment that you're like, hey, I'm not able to progress as a business owner, as a significant other, as a coach, as an athlete, because of this, all right, well, what do we need to change so that we get back on track? And making sure you having the right people that are helping you stay within your goal and your path to get there. That's a big part of it. And again, takes me back to the quality excuse me, the quality of individuals that you have around you, and making sure we are moving in the right direction and we're all in the same boat. We're all trying to get to our destination. I don't care how many storms we have to weather. They're willing to be in the ride with you, good, bad, and the other. I'm not just here to celebrate your victories. I'm here to carry you if I absolutely have to during your darkest days.
That's real, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a rare and amazing thing. Like there's very few that feel that way. So it's really good to hear.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, just trying to make sure like I'll walk side by side with any one of you, but push comes to shove, I'm gonna make sure I do my part. That if for whatever reason you can't walk today, I'm gonna carry you, because we're trying to uplift everyone that's in our circle, and I'm not leaving anyone behind. The only way anyone's getting left behind is if they choose, hey, being a part of your circle isn't doing me any justice, and they have a valid reason. By all means, all right, you make your own choices. But at the end of the day, I'll remind you, hey, this is why you started this in the first place. Let's keep going.
100%.
Let's keep going. At the end of the day, again, keep marching. Just keep marching.
Yeah. That text, you sent it to me the other day. That's it makes all the difference, believe me. Just like letting people know that.
Yeah. Hey, I'm here for you. Like we have our dark days. Just I'm here for you. Don't harp on it. Acknowledge it. Learn from it. Let's keep moving.
100%, man.
Kind of closing question. What's like your vision for the next decade or so, as far as business, personal life?
Next decade, I would like to be in a facility that is maintaining my aura, my stigma, my values, that runs itself, makes enough money that I could be comfortable, raise my children, help show them all my core values, teach them my core values, be a part of their life as much as possible, and being present so that I could pick and choose who I want to work with. Because whenever I have individuals that come to me and they have a goal, they have a checkpoint that they need my assistance, I could pick and choose who I want to work with and be able to take care of and raise my family the way I want to, and make sure I'm training every single day. Know what I mean? To have, basically for me, ultimately, have everything under one roof and being able to have all the right people around me under a single roof. That's my ultimate goal.
I feel like that's what separates you, is the fact that you can concisely and clearly say that without you know it.
No.
You know, it's a clear goal.
No.
I think that's such a struggle for a lot of people. Like they have to think and try and make it sound this giant grandiose thing, but that's just straight up what it is. Up. It's a great goal.
Yeah.
You know?
The basically every aspect of my life that I have currently right now, it's spread out. If I could bring it all on the same freeway and have it under one roof, it'll be a beautiful thing for me.
One last question.
Yes, sir.
For Halloween, are you Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, head of the table?
Hey, so I get that every time I leave the city. Well, even in the city, I get that all the time. I was in LA 3 weeks ago. My boy got married. Congratulations. I got shout out to Kenyon. I love you, bro. I get off the plane. As soon as I step off the plane, excuse me, are you a wrestler? No, sir.
Yeah.
So the running joke is now my wife just tells him, just tell him you're a stunt double. He has me on height by a few inches, but
how tall is he?
I think he's like 6'3", 6'4". Yeah, I think he's like 6'3".
The tribal chief.
Yeah. So, but I get that every time I leave. I went to LA. I got asked that 5-6 times. I had a guy. I'm waiting for the rental car bus to come pick us up, and this guy's like looking around this pole. I'm like, I have to fight this dude. Like this guy's like eyeballing. Hey, are you a wrestler? Are you Roman Reigns? I'm like, I'm not Roman Reigns, but thank you. One of our fighters was fighting in Atlanta last year. Same thing. are you one of the Oso twins? Like,
Oh.
so I get that every time I leave the city. Everyone assumes I'm a professional wrestler. So
It's not bad.
hey,
It's a good,
I mean, hey,
I mean,
hey, the way I see,
it's a good
I guess
thing.
I guess I have the look. So shout out to WWE if they want to sign me. Let me know. I guess that could be my next career
Hey.
path. I guess if this training happens to come to a halt.
Yeah, you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you'll just see people, whether it's in stunts, movies, wrestling, fighting, and you're just like, wait a second, holy shit! Like, yeah, because it's like we have our world here where we see people doing stuff, and
Mhm.
then there'll be people from like a decade ago from upstate New York, and I'll like look at the TV, and I'll be like, I thought I was the only one. Wait, like, how did this happen?
Yeah.
I'm like, but
Yeah.
that's awesome, yeah. But
Yeah. So don't I don't worry. Next year I'll dress up for a tribal chief for you.
well, no, he has to be the what's the other guy, Solo or whatever, the right hand man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey, that'll be
yeah.
perfect.
Oh, that'd be
Don't worry.
sick.
Hey, and next year's Halloween party, we'll make sure and have it set up.
Wrestlers.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's the way to go, man.
we'll make it happen.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome, guys, and thank you very
Yeah.
much for your time, Jordan.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks
you
for
guys for
having me.
having me. Like, I really enjoyed this, and I'm honored.